My favorite are the sunflowers.
Lots of people love the sunflowers.
Man, they are so cool. I love them. And I love the ones, especially the ones that are half sunflowers.
They were always my favorite because I did them during the first wave of COVID and I needed something within lockdown to keep my head calm. And because I was doing the petals with a palette knife, which was very therapeutic, and the centers with the like a very fine liner brush, that was so mindful to me. It just kind of it took me to a happy place.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Bill from recoveryafterstroke.com. This is episode 120, and my guest today is Noreen Walsh. Noreen was only 18 months old when she experienced a stroke that may have been a result of hemolytic uremic syndrome, which is a group of blood disorders characterized by low red blood cells, acute kidney failure, and low platelets. Initial symptoms typically include bloody diarrhea, fever, vomiting, and weakness. Almost 30 years later, Noreen still lives with the deficits from stroke and has taken up art therapy to help manage the pain. Now it's on with the show. Noreen Walsh, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
It's definitely good to be here. I'm glad you asked me.
You're an Aussie in Brisbane. I'm an Aussie in Melbourne. And the reason why we connected is because somebody from the other side of the planet introduced us.
Yes, yeah. I was really taken aback. I always get lovely people that I connect with via Joe, and when I did the podcast with him, he said you've got to reach out to Bill. I know he's in Australia. I just don't know where. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's Joe Borges from the Neuro Nerds podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's a cool dude. I had real good time interviewing him as well, and he told me about you and that you guys found each other online and became mates.
We did. It was a really, really quick friendship that was made, and I've always found friendships really difficult to maneuver through. And for me and him, we just connected on so many things so quickly, and then we ended up getting each other through a lot of rough moments in time, and I think that built on our friendship very quickly. So
Wow. So
yes.
he told me that you guys had a connection. I didn't realize that it became deeper because of you guys helping each other through a rough patch. So how long ago was that?
Oh, probably sometime last year. I was having a really rough time with I've battled depression a lot over my life, but I had a really rough time because my pain levels went up, and effectively I couldn't do the art that I wanted to do. So I ended up messaging him a lot, going, "Oh my god, this really sucks, and I don't really know how to make it a positive thing." And in all honesty, the more I listened to his podcast, the more I felt like part of my story was being heard. So it felt like a warm cup of like hot cocoa or something. That's like, oh yeah, this guy gets me. So it was really, for me. And when he was going through a rough patch, I helped him with affirmations and trying to get to the point where he was okay in himself too.
Man, that is so cool. So I interviewed Joe for episode 98, and he was so high energy. He was so full on. I had trouble keeping up with him, but he's still, he's got an amazingly big heart, and you could just feel his complete dedication to making things better for people. And I couldn't believe that I was listening to that guy talk about the things that I was also thinking and feeling. And I just thought, there is another person like me that thinks like me, and I feel less alone as well. Like, that's what I got out of it. And I was so grateful to connect with him. So I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I never reached out to him during a hard time. So that must be even more brilliant that you were able to get that kind of support from somebody from so far away.
Oh, definitely. And look, I before Joe, I didn't have um there wasn't a stroke community for me to connect with, because I had it so young. Um, and I think as I've gotten older, it's a sad thing that more and more people are having strokes, but for our community as a whole to understand each other, it's it's good, because there's always somebody out there that can say, oh, look, I went through that, or oh my goodness, yep, I've fallen in public before, or whatever it is. And I I couldn't believe that I'd made such a connection with somebody that I just sent him a piece of my artwork through a competition I did, and he was so enthusiastic. He even wrote me and said, I put this up in my room, and it's there, and it motivates me, and it just, so it was both of us, I think, building a very strong connection from the get-go, which was really lovely.
Yeah. You know what I love I love that. I completely agree with what you said about, it's not good that people are having stroke, but it's good that stroke survivors are finding each other, because I've been told as well that people that I've had on my podcast who have put themselves out there have made it possible for other people to reach out to them and connect with them. Because even though you and
Absolutely.
I are both in Australia, we don't know each other and we don't live near each other. So it's difficult to find people that are like
Mhm.
you, even nearby, right? So it's unlikely that we'll come across another stroke survivor at the cafe having a coffee that gets us and that is like us. But this massive worldwide community, I mean, there's definitely somebody that's as crazy as me out there that gets me and is like me, and I get them.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's what's great about Joe, that he connects me with so many people so early on, and some of them just needed advice on how to step forward, or they needed my kind of what I went through to understand they're not on their own with this. Um, I even met another pediatric stroke survivor, Ella Sophia, and she's such a sweetheart, and she does motivational speaking. So it's been really, really awesome to be able to connect with so many people.
Yeah. How old were you when you had the stroke, and what kind of stroke was it?
So I was 18 months old when I had the stroke, but the thing with me is that I had something called hemolytic uremic syndrome, and it's a thing that attacks your kidneys and, in my case, my red blood cells. Um, so the stroke wasn't even the main thing; it was like a symptom or a side effect of what this this condition um, gave me.
Right.
Um, yeah,
So you were 18 months old. Um, I mean, that's a tough way to get introduced to life, isn't it, for anybody? Um, and how old are you now?
I'm 33, so I it is a tough way to be introduced to the world, but it's also a blessing, because every stroke survivor I have talked to has always talked about the before, or
Mm.
before I could do X, or before I could do this, whereas I've always had struggle with walking, and the same way as other people, or when in the playground playing with my peers. So I've had that experience of, I know I'm different, and that's my normal, which is probably slightly warped, but it's been beneficial for me because I haven't had the before side of it.
Yeah, that's less mentally challenging in that you do less comparison, and therefore you don't dwell on the past, and therefore you make yourself feel better. I made a post just yesterday on Instagram, which is that people should never compare themselves to somebody else. Yesterday, they should to somebody else at all. They should compare themselves only to themselves and who they were yesterday, and as opposed to who they are compared to somebody else. And the reason being is because if you compare yourself to other people, you're bound to get disappointed, because we don't know the circumstances under which somebody is recovering or getting better, and we only see this little picture, especially on social media. So it's a really poor picture about what's really happening in that person's world. So it made a huge impact. Like when I posted this, I never expected that it was going to make such a massive impact on the people reading it. And it basically said the best person to compare yourself to is you yesterday and not somebody else today. And you haven't had any one to compare yourself to just because you were always born that way. And I can see why you think it's a blessing, and why you're just getting on with the way things are, and you're finding or looking to find solutions. Is that your kind of personality? Are you a problem solving kind of gal?
um I think I think I was always going to be able to solve problems because um my parents were never the type to take anything lying down. So if they were told she can't do X, Y, and Z, they would deliberately go out their way to say, hey, okay, let's find things online. Let's do this. Or, okay, there's things, we can encourage her to do this activity. And sometimes it meant going privately to, an OT and a physio. But for me, problem solving has always been, okay, well, this is an issue. So it's a brick wall. I can get through it. I can go around it, or I can go over it, but there is definitely a way. And I think it's partly, my upbringing, but partly it's been kind of forced upon me as, you got no other choice. You can have bad days, but at the end of it, you have to pick yourself up and go, right, tomorrow, how am I going to solve this and move forward? So yeah, probably a bit of both.
Yeah, I love it. So you can have bad days. I agree with you, right? And we should give people the courage to experience their bad days and even dislike them. And I'm okay with that. But let's try and make tomorrow slightly better, just slightly, even if it's just a little bit, just so that you can see that you can have a positive impact on how you felt yesterday, and therefore, hopefully, that encourages you to aim for feeling maybe 2% better on day 2, and maybe 3% better on day 3, and that's doesn't sound like a lot, but then that adds up, and by the end of the week, you're 7% better, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be 100%, does it?
No, exactly. And I do think, I'm good at being grateful for the little things, like, okay, well, I managed to walk to the end of my road and back without getting out of breath, or I managed to go to a night out that takes my sensory system to like overload, but I managed it without the anxiety that I thought I would have. Or there's always something you can be very grateful for, and sometimes it's a stretch, especially this year. It's been a stretch
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah.
But it's I lost my train of thought. Oh, I hate when that happens. Yeah, I think there's always something that you can be
Grateful for.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, with regards to the pain, is the
Mm.
pain due to spasticity or is it some other issues that are causing you pain?
So I started off having headaches when I was around 12 years old, and the doctors said this is because she's had a lot of surgeries and a lot of things have happened to her brain. So they were basically saying it's nerve pain, but they didn't really know how to explain it to us at that point.
No.
And they said when she's out of her teenage years, it'll go away. It's just another blip that's happened. That technically didn't go away till about 4 years back when I had I had an intervention, and I had something called a largactal infusion, and it's the strangest thing, but it stopped the headaches completely. The pain I have now, compared to that, is more functional pain, I believe. Like I have pelvic pain and I have back pain, and I'm on medication for it, but it's always a tightrope to kind of balance out, okay, what doctors are telling me I can do, pacing yourself, and also realizing you've got to do something each day. Otherwise, if we always listen to our body, I always say, well, I wouldn't get up in the morning if I had to listen to it every day. So sometimes it's about balancing out what the doctors are telling you, but also what you're capable of. Because neuroplasticity is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So what I'm getting from it is so I have pain on my left side, and my my constant thing is to go and see a chiropractor or a massage therapist or somebody, and they might help loosen muscles and get rid of the tension and all of that kind of stuff literally for a day or two, and then it comes back. So it doesn't stop me from doing anything because I don't have a my walk isn't interrupted, so my gait hasn't changed, so it's not impacting my pelvis or any part of my spine or anything like that, but it's constantly tense on the left side, both my hand and my leg and my chest and all that stuff, right? So for me, it's not dramatically painful, but it's always there, and it's not something that I can stop having. I can't stop it. I can't stop from having it. So if I did stop doing things that made it painful, then I wouldn't be doing anything as well. And I find
Absolutely.
myself forgetting about pain when I'm doing things that I love. And the more I do what I'm loving, the less I'm focusing on my problems. And then I kind of notice them later at the end of the day when I'm pooped, when I'm exhausted, you know, as I'm winding down for an hour or so before I go to bed, as I kind of notice it more then. But then I focus on, well, the day's been amazing and I've had amazing experiences and I've done great things. It's probably a decent price to pay. Like, I'd rather not
I,
pay,
I,
but you know,
I
whatever.
could totally understand that. I think it's the pathway of the mind. It's the mind body I can't think of it, but it's mind body connection.
Mm.
And that's why when I paint, my pain is non-existent, but when I get up from my easel, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm pretty sore right now. And that's because the attention goes straight back onto like your default. And I can understand what you're saying, that it's not overly painful, but it's always there. Like like a background radio station that you just like, yeah, I'm totally used to this, you know, but it's there.
Yeah, and sometimes you tune it out, and then sometimes you notice it, and that's the strange thing about background music. You do sometimes notice it, and you go, "Oh, maybe that's a song that you liked that you noticed," but sometimes you notice it because it's a song you didn't like. So I get what you're saying, and does and then what comes into my mind is that art for you must be that mindfulness state. Does that explain the kind of state you go into?
Oh, definitely. Art has always been uh, a calm place for me. Even when I was a kid, I remember I couldn't really go out running with these girls that were, you know, doing hopscotch and whatever other little games. And my dad bought me an acrylic paint set, and at the time I was obsessed with Monet, and so I got a Monet sticker book. And honest to goodness, I forgot that there were people out there playing things that I couldn't do, because it was like creating a world that at that point in time it was like creating a world that really accepted me. So going back to me as an adult, it's definitely a mindful thing for me, because it's a safe place for me to even if I'm having a bad day, splash paint on a canvas and I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of worked out, or it didn't. But either way, I've gone to an incredibly calm place in my head, and that's always been I guess the therapeutic side of things for me with art.
Why? So, are you? If I can, for a second, ask a question to see whether or not you know why it works on you. So, I know you get out of your head, but why does it work for you? What changes in your body that makes all the pain go away while you're painting? Like, what is it that occurs? Are you aware?
Um, I mean, I think part of it is conditioning, because art was always something that I could do. That in in school it wasn't a binary subject. It was a subject that I could interpret, and it didn't matter the way I thought about it. So I think part of it is the conditioning of you're in a really safe room, and anything can go here, but you're in the driver's seat. So I think part of that for me is someone not telling me what my pain should be like, or what it is. It's me saying I'm in control of what's going on in my body right now, and I I choose to focus on the things around me. So I do think it's the background conditioning, and maybe the mind body connection that happens when I put on really good music, and I have so many songs on my Spotify, and I have this gorgeous candle, and I don't know if you find this with noises, with sensory stuff, but for me, my candle crackles, and it immediately sends me into like this Zen kind of mind frame. So even before I start painting, I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice. So I think it's a real mixture of things there.
It's so many layers. I know what you're saying, and it's true. Different noises and sounds take me to different places, and they make me forget about where I am. For me, it might be um, the river, the wind, things like that. You know, things that I've experienced in nature when I've been kind of at one with the
Mm-hmm.
world and with nature, like when I go camping or something like that. And then hearing those noises again just takes me back there. Um, but what it sounds like to me that you're saying is that you gain control in a place where we have so little control. You seem to get back some of your sense of control, and you can control an environment that you can do when you're sitting at your easel. Everything just comes into line. You control all the
Yes.
things that are important to you, that matter. Everything else goes away, and then you can just create. And because of the gifts that people like Monet gave us, and those types of artists from back early in the 1900s, it meant that your artwork didn't have to look like the subject or anything, and it didn't matter, and you didn't get judged on whether it was a perfect replica of the subject. It just mattered that there was something on the canvas.
You so dead on there with the Monet reference, because I loved that it didn't need to look like the exact thing you were painting. It wasn't realism. It was an emotional kind of roller coaster, and I think that's why Monet became very symbolic of the joy of painting. Even to the extent that in my last year at primary school, everyone got like a going away award or something tangible. My teacher got this massive Monet book and wrote in it the date and what I had achieved and what I could achieve, and let this book always be basically a moving forward point for you to refer back to. And I still think it's just something that even in this day and age with painting, there is still this argument over Monet type impressionism and realism, and it's an interesting situation, because I guess I've only been doing it 4 years, but I know that my artwork kind of stands out, but it can also take people by surprise, because they either like it or they don't.
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
I always believe that if you like it, great. If you tell me you don't like it, well, that's okay. I've done my job too, because it's the emotional side of it. I've done that. Okay, cool. Tell me why you don't like it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way that you relate to Monet, because my sense of his work is that I could put something on canvas and not be concerned about how I'm going to be judged. If I had to do a Caravaggio, I mean, I would never pick up the brush. It would never give me the confidence to allow myself the gift of expression. I would never, ever do it. But take a Monet or a Picasso and then just go, you know what? I can paint as terrible as Picasso can. And that worked out for him. So if it worked out for him, why wouldn't it work out for me? And that then opens up this possibility of art to everybody on the planet, not just the guy who can do an exact replica of the person that's sitting across them, across from the easel, right? And then what that did, why those guys were so amazing is that created all the things that had to happen so that in 1995 or whenever it was that somebody decided that art as therapy was an important thing, that allowed for that part of the world to exist, so that now when you hear about art therapy, it's like, oh yeah, and everyone knows about it, and it's not a big deal, and people want to be a part of it, and people are gaining so much from it. And this is the beauty of allowing people to express themselves, no matter how they do it and what it looks like.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of how I fell back in love with art. I went through a very bad breakup, and I went to art therapy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but had no expectation of what I was doing. I just thought I'll just go and I'll try and enjoy this. And I got a lot of great feedback from people. So I started taking extra classes and different classes that would kind of evolve what I was doing. And I'm forever grateful for that breakup, because I probably would be maybe, painting, but painting as a hobby instead of pursuing it as a career. So yeah, art therapy is incredible.
Are you weird? Like you're grateful for the breakup?
I know. Look, if you asked me at the time, it would not be.
Yeah.
I do think I'm a big believer in the universe, and the universe giving you kind of signs of where you should be going. And let's just say I was ignoring every sign that the universe was giving me. So I'm so glad that it happened. I still to this day will say that we amicably broke up. But yeah, I think it just, I don't know, it just guided me back to where I was supposed to be going. It's bizarre.
It's bizarre.
But yeah, I am weird.
Yeah, good. It's bizarre and it's wonderful, because you know what? Hopefully people who are listening and watching will get out of that is that sometime in the future when something terrible happens to us, it'll be terrible at the time, but it doesn't have to be terrible forever after that.
Exactly. I think so.
You got me?
Where'd you go?
I'm here.
You're here? Oh, okay.
I can still
Hang on.
see you.
You can still see me. Hang on. Oh, okay. I've got you. Oh my God. This is so weird. Okay. If I just stay here. Okay. I've got you again.
I had you the whole time. No worries. It's all good. So yeah, something that we experience now that's bad now doesn't have to be bad forever, does it?
No, and I do think there's a lot of things that are out there that are bad for us, and that teaches us certain lessons in life. And I think those things we have to go through. Saying that, I always say that I'm here for a reason, so instead of it being I'm a I get called a stroke, I'm a victim of stroke. I say no, I'm a stroke survivor and I'm thriving. And I think it's more about turning it around as much as you can. I mean, look, I think you've got to embrace the bad all the time, and if you don't, it's going to come for you.
Yeah, it is. And it's part of acceptance. I was told by a coach a long time ago, I was told what you resist persists. And
That's good.
and that's so true, right? It's like what I resist persists. And it was, and she said it to me so many times. Louise Gilbert's her name. She's an amazing lady. And she said it to me so many times in so many different situations. So she said it once when I was being afraid of doing this thing, right? So the podcast is something that I was afraid of doing a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it stayed within me. It wouldn't go away, and it bothered me that I wasn't doing it, and it used to rule my entire life that I wasn't doing it, and that I was afraid to put myself out there. And she would say, what you resist persists. So that's a great thing that I was resisting, and it was persisting, right? And then I would do something that wasn't positive, and I wouldn't overcome something. For example, like I wouldn't be grateful for something that happened, and I couldn't find myself to get to that point of being grateful for the lesson. And she will say, well, what you resist persists. And what she was saying is that little bother, that drama that terrible situation is causing is going to be there if you don't deal with it, if you don't go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot from not resisting things, because how do we resist it? Like, I of course don't want terrible experiences, but when they come, what can I do about it? Like, I can't do anything about it.
Exactly, and it it's it's about understanding that we've all got things that have happened to us in our life. And I had a friend the other day that said, oh, I don't want to complain about my bad work week. And I said, why not? And she goes, because you've gone through so much. And I said, it's all relative. You can have a bad work week and still talk to me. I've probably had a bad lifetime, but it's fine because it's all relative. We all have had, and I don't believe I've had a bad lifetime so far. It's been a hell of a freaking journey, but it's I think the stroke definitely has changed me into a probably maybe a different person than I would have been. I don't know. I think about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it has me. I was 37, so there was definitely a before stroke me and an after stroke me, and and now I'm a better version of myself. Um, I live with this stuff constantly, and I suppose some of it's a good reminder. Hey, you're not that special, mate. Relax, pull your head in. Take it easy, and pay attention to what's important. So that constant message of what's important isn't far away. Like, it's just a moment when I sit down and pay attention to my left leg or my left arm. So it's made me a better version of myself. I never would have been doing a podcast if it wasn't for the stroke. Honestly, I never would have reached so many people around the world. I never would have met you and all the amazing people that I've met. I was so narrow-minded and closed, in the way
Yes.
that I used to go about expressing myself and meeting people, and the stroke has enhanced who I am so much. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't difficult. Just listen to episode 100 of the podcast, where I interview my wife. I mean, we went through 4 years of shit, and it took me 8 years to get back to work and all this stuff. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but even during those difficult times, I was getting better and better at being me.
I think that's it. It's kind of you mentioned your wife, and I think as a family, even though you and I went through it, family plays such a fundamental role in like our recovery and who we are, or if we need a cheerleader. I mean, my brother, there's only 3 years apart from us, but he was always, him and my dad were always my protectors, and my mum was always my confidant for anything. And I think that open dialogue helped a lot, because it made me stronger. And now, in the past maybe 4 or 5 years, after going through a lot of I guess neuroplasticity, and I went to a neuropsychiatrist, I've been able to explain these are the issues that I'm dealing with right now. or could you please turn those lights down because it's way too bright in here. And look, I have my own, I live with my folks, but I have half the house. So if I don't like something, I can take myself into the art room or my downstairs sitting room area and just chill out. So it's a weird thing. I used to think, oh, but it's me that's going through all of it. But they were right there.
Yeah.
They were kind of like a witness to everything. So, and I think about what it would have been like. I think it must have been hard that for your wife who had a husband before, but maybe your personality is slightly different than it was before. I think it must have been really tricky for her to work out what was what.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got the before stroke version, and then she's got the after stroke version. And I was initially extremely rude and abrupt and short and angry and all sorts of things. So she did it tough, and then I've calmed down a lot, and I've learned to apologize more and say I love you more and all that kind of stuff. So right now I'm a better version of myself than I ever was. But I was trying to get there, even in those angry days and those difficult days. I was trying to get there. I just didn't know the path, right? The message that I'm getting from you is that it's important who you surround yourself with. And you were lucky your parents were there because you had a stroke when you were 18 months old. But then if people that the listeners are hanging around are not supporting them, and I'm not saying that they feel sorry for you all the time because of your stroke or whatever, but if they're just not the kind of person that enhances your time together, maybe it's time to just add a few more people into the mix, the type that are going to enhance your appreciation for that connection. And what else I'm getting from you is that the awareness of how we, even though we're doing the going through the tough time, having awareness of how what we're going through is impacting other people gives them a little bit of a break as well. Like it gives them like I understand you as well. You know, I know that you're feeling pain and you're suffering while I'm suffering, and I understand you. Like I get it. That would be such a great gift that you give that to your parents and your brother.
Oh, definitely. I think it's an ongoing discussion that has to constantly happen because I think neuroplasticity always goes on, but the constant discussion with your family so they know where you're at. But going back to what you said about friends and people you surround yourself with, I learned the hard way. I came over to Australia when I was 18, and I met a lot of people through college, and they were nice, but they weren't the type of people that I would want to go out to clubs with or that kind of thing. And the friends that I did make were very pushy with you should be doing this.
Yeah,
And I think if you have issues with your frontal lobe, which I mean I had a partial hemispherectomy when I was 8, so you have to, if you're always in a state of learning through action, then there is going to be a time frame that you learn that not everybody has your best intentions, their best. Not everybody will have
your best interests.
Yes, and I think it's rough, but the group of people that I go to coffee with now and hang out, go to the art galleries, it's people that if I walk slower, they walk even slower, even if it means they're walking at like next to zero, they'll do that because they get that this is the way it is. Or I went to the art gallery last year with a friend, and we stopped about 4 or 5 times because we both have different pain levels for different things, and we both stopped. So I think it's about, we're all getting older, and I think it's about the maturity levels of others. And that's why, like, the podcast, your podcast, and like Joe's podcast is so important, because I feel like it's not just for us, it's for people that have no idea that, you know, I mean, the craziest thing is that, I mean, Joe has said this to me, that I'm very lucky that I have, the physical side of things is definitely noticeable. And the thing is, I always think, oh no, I would much rather to not have the limp or the hemiplegic side, which is just the weakness. But people give you a lot of slack. They make allowances for you because they see it, and Joe prefers people seeing it rather than not seeing it. So it's an interesting
it's
an
tough.
interesting concept.
I know what Joe means, because I go through that, right? So if you looked at me, everything looks fine. And I used to get that a lot. I used to get, what, you look good. And just because I looked good, I could have looked amazing on my worst day, and nobody would have known that I was having a bad day. So constantly having to explain how I'm having a bad day and what that feels like is extremely frustrating for me and the person listening, because they have no experience. They use their eyes is giving them feedback, and then that's it, right? But
Exactly.
what that gave me was an appreciation for mental illness and what people go through when they have mental illness, which is not visible, and they can't explain it to somebody who's not been there. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can relate with you guys now. I'm on your side now. I totally get it. And that means I can be more gentle, and I can be more accepting and understanding, and therefore I can be another ally to those people. So I got that gift from it, and I'm like, wow, I never in a million years would have been able to relate to that person like I can now. So all I do now is, when I'm feeling like I'm having a bad time or day or whatever, it's like I just do the general conversation, like, I'm not up for it today. I don't feel like it, or I don't want to, or whatever. So I kind of compensate with the lengthy explanations by just making them short and sweet. No, I'm not up for it. I don't want to do that anymore. And that makes it easier. And when I need to go home because the party's too loud, or the lights flashing are doing my head in, it's kind of like, yeah, it's time for me to go, man. Yeah, I'm just tired. I want to go home. I didn't sleep last night, or I woke up early. Like, I give the mundane general responses to things, and people go, oh, all right, he's going home. They don't
I
need to
think
know.
that's
They don't need to know anymore.
no, and I think that's it. It's kind of like, your inner circle knows you, but at the end of the day, the amount of times I've said I've got a headache when I know the lights are just going off, and if I don't get out of here, it's just not going to be pretty. And I'll say, oh, I'm really tired, or oh, geez, I'm just not feeling it tonight. It's not happening. And people need to be able to relate to what you're saying. So if I said, oh, I have a muscle spasm disorder, and the lights are going to go off.
The eyes are going to glaze over, and they're going to go,
Yeah.
what's she on about?
Yeah. So it's so much easier. And I think as I've gotten older, being open to educating people as much as I can without them feeling like I'm preaching to them is a good thing, because they can, people want to help, but when it's not visible, or where the I always find I'm the elephant in the room. Like, especially I go to a lot of like art gallery openings and things that people would normally go to if you're an artist, But if you have to go up and meet the people that have been given the talk or on the panel, I have to pretend that their eyes don't glaze over, because when I introduce myself, their eyes do glaze over, and I have to say, "Are you okay? Is it hot in here? Yeah, it's a bit hot in here, isn't it? Yeah, yeah." Well, and then redirect it back to the talk that they've been talking about. But with people my own age, it's easier to say, you know, I've been asked, like, have you broken your leg? You know, are you all right? Do you need any help? I'm like, no. Do you need any help? So it is a very fine balance, because I don't think society has really accepted people with disabilities. I want them to, but I do think there's a lot more education that needs to be going into, and I don't know how that's going to work, whether it's like us or Joe, or I don't know.
It's not going to work. Hate to burst your bubble, and I don't say it because I don't think that we should stop trying. It's just because the majority of the people are well, and that's just a numbers game, right? So
Yeah.
we have to just keep doing what we're doing and get creative, right? So one of my amazing coaches, a guy who I've interviewed as well for the podcast, Marvin Oka, once said to me that what he wants to do, he wants to impact the most people in the world that he can, and he can do that one by one, or he can go to the top. And I didn't
Okay.
understand what that meant. So he works with he works in organizations where he consults, like for banks and all that kind of stuff, right? And he's a very heart-centered, amazing kind of guy. And he said it's too hard to go one by one from the bottom up. But if I go to the top and influence that person in a positive way, and he spreads that love down, then my 1 hour with that guy has impacted 6,000 people positively, instead of
Yeah.
spending 6,000 hours to do that. So the point I'm trying to make is that I try to work out how I'm going to change people's understanding about stroke and how to bring stroke survivors together. And I thought I can go to my local, to my local Rotary, and I can stand there in front of 30 people, and maybe one of them is a stroke survivor. Or I can do a podcast and reach the world. And if I do a podcast, it takes the same amount of effort as going to a Rotary presentation. And if people listening don't know what Rotary is, it's like Toastmasters, in that they invite people to go and speak. It's a charitable organization that invites people to go and speak. So if I do a podcast, this podcast has now 3,000 downloads a month.
Wow.
I mean, how
That's
many?
amazing.
Yeah, how good is it, right? So how can I get in front of 3,000 people every month? I mean, that's near impossible otherwise. So this is how we win that battle and bring more awareness to our community and its needs. This is how we do it. And you participating makes it possible, right? That's the best way to do it.
That's it. I want to be able to, I mean, I've even said this to Joe. I really want to be able to be that person that I needed when I was like young, because
Yeah.
I just didn't have a reflection of myself at all bounced back to me. So I knew I was me, but there was no group or comparison, and I think being able to voice who I am in a vulnerable state, which is hard anyway, but to say, look, this is what happened to me and this is how I feel, and to get a conversation going with people that have heard me say these things, it opens up a huge dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really grateful to you and Joe, because that's what it does. It opens dialogue to other people and go, okay, this is if I can positively affect somebody else's life at the moment, or if they need somebody that 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 they can connect with, then I'm happy to do that, and I do incorporate that in my artwork, um because I just want to spread positivity. There's too much, like,
Junk.
horrible things going on at the moment. Yeah.
I've been looking at your art as we've been talking through,
Oh, you have not. Oh, okay.
and now it's time for the judgment.
Mm.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh
I
my
love,
god.
my favorite are the sunflowers.
Lots of people love the sunflowers. That's so cool.
Man, they are so cool. I love them. And I love the ones, especially the ones that are half sunflowers.
They were always my favorite because I did them during the first wave of COVID, and I needed something within lockdown to keep my head calm. And because I was doing the petals with a palette knife, which was very therapeutic, and the centers with the like a very fine liner brush, that was so mindful to me. It just kind of it took me to a happy place. So they're always, I think I'll always go back to sunflowers
Yeah.
because they're so good.
And then the other one, which I really, really love, is the one where the girl in the red dress with the umbrella is walking down the Parisian street with the lights either side and the Eiffel Tower in the distance, and the beautiful leaves that have started to change because I think maybe they're representing autumn,
Yes.
or fall for the American listeners. I mean, that is an amazing piece as well. I think that is brilliant.
Thank you so much. I love doing that piece. That's called Paris Awaits, and I I've been to Paris a few times when I was a kid, but I wanted to bring this whole romanticized version of it, that it is in the distance and and the fact that she is on her own, that it's not a romantic setting per se, so she can be her and be herself and enjoy life without the partner. So I kind of wanted that kind of juxtaposition of how I painted versus what the story is.
Well, I got exactly what you just said. So to me, it reminded me of the romantic side of Paris. And me, it kind of had me wondering about her. And then it had the Eiffel Tower as the place to go to. Like, this is where we're headed. We're headed to see it up close, because right now we can see it from far. And I see myself there, and it reminds me of a trip that we didn't get to do this year. We were planning to go to Paris this year with my wife, but because of COVID, we didn't get there. And I reckon I almost would have weed my pants when I saw the Eiffel Tower, and I and I would have tried, like, oh my God, there it is. Like, let's go there. Like, let's get there. But she's just strolling along. I would have been in a rush. She's just taking her time, and she's doing it nice and calmly. And I would have been like, let's go. I want to see how big this thing is. I want to stand underneath it. I would have been doing all that stuff.
I think it's a reflection of where I wanted to be in my life at that point, that I wanted to enjoy the small moments, and really, really, I wanted it to come across like she's taking it all in. And it's not, I think part of my story is the journey, not the destination. So we're all of us are going through recovery, and for me it's like, well, let's enjoy this ride, that there's something I can do today that I wasn't able to do a week ago. And that comes through a lot with me. And I think part of my love life has been difficult and rocky over the years, and I think that kind of comes across. I always put a woman in a painting where she's elegant and on her own, but she's doing it, she's rocking it, and it's like, I am woman, you hear me roar, kind of thing.
Oh man, it's what I get from her. Let me tell you, I I I'm not artistic in any way, but I have put paint on a canvas just to give myself the opportunity to experience what that's like. And I do go to galleries and I do look at art, and I do appreciate the the process that an artist goes through to do that. And I'm watching your little video now of you painting a landscape. It's sped up, and you're painting this
Oh,
landscape.
is it 'cause I have a couple. Is it the one where it's got a lot of lavender on it?
No, it's all the yellows and red hues, and goes into
Oh,
orange, and then it's got some rocks on the left there. So I
um,
feel like it's a it's a really
oh,
warm.
yeah, it's my desert landscape.
Yes.
Um, I went really loose because I'd been fighting the kind of idea that I had to be a certain way within the art community, and those two landscapes were okay. I have an idea. I'm not going to write it down, and I'm not going to draw it out. I'm literally going to throw on the canvas and see where it goes.
Mm.
Um, so for me, that was a lot of art therapy because I just wanted to see how it was going to turn out. But I got a lot of lovely feedback from those two pieces, and I'm wondering if my art therapy side came through a lot more because I just wasn't worried about what people thought.
Yeah, it was just stuff going on a canvas, and the result, let me tell you, it's pretty awesome. I love it. It's a great image, and I'm wondering, uh, are these has there been somebody reach out to you to purchase your paintings? Like, are you selling them? Like, how has that evolved? Has that become something that is happening?
It's happening. It. I mean, it was very difficult this year because I was selling my artwork via cafes and coffee shops, and a, a lot of them shut down
Mm.
because of COVID. So um, I I've been trying to push my artwork and sell it on via Instagram because I'm still building a website, and people can still find me on Instagram and Facebook. But I think if I build the website, people are more likely to be encouraged to purchase.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's word of mouth, and I've had a few sales where it's been like, oh, you're so and so from that cafe, and I had one beautiful lady. She saw my artwork in um a coffee shop in the West End, and she bought one piece there and then. She found me on Insta and bought three more pieces.
Wow.
So I think it's also a learning curve for me on when to push a sale and when to say, hey, it's there, it's available, you can see, you can purchase it,
Yeah.
and direct message me if you'd like it. It's I won't lie, it's a tricky one for me to
Yeah.
work out where the line is.
I
But
think I think you'll work it out. I mean, because your art speaks for itself, so they kind of sell themselves. Um,
thank
and
you.
yeah, because they do, they really do. They're for somebody who's been only at it for 4 years. There's a lot more going on there than I would have imagined, because those landscapes and those trees with the leaves and all that kind of stuff, to me, they just seem like they're pieces that I would be proud to have. Do you know what I mean? To hang on my wall.
Thank
So
you so much.
they're just
That's
lovely. So I love it. Now we and I suppose what would be cool is if, and this is just me thinking out loud, is prints. Sometimes I just buy prints.
Yes, I actually I've been looking into prints. I've got a line of positive prints that I put a painting or an image um on the print, but I put a positive affirmation um on there, like I can't remember some of them. Some of them are like, you know, today I will not not regret anything I do. Today I will be present within the moment, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That I think people would, especially this year, I think would really relate to. I think it's saturation and it's accessibility. So I think I either have to oversaturate people with the the stuff online, or I kind of like, it's almost like leaving a little bit of cheese and going, come on, you want this. And it's a bit tricky.
I love it. You know what I love about this part of the conversation is that what hopefully we're doing is demonstrating to people listening, stroke survivors who are going through a really tough time, that from a tough time, something amazing can come, and something that is joyful and brings joy to you and other people can also come. And if, you're that way inclined, it might even make a few $100 for you or whatever. And that's really why I've focused on talking about your art, other than the fact that it's brilliant. I'd love to focus on the fact that it wouldn't have been possible if something shitty didn't happen in your life.
I think that like, I really appreciate you focusing on it, because a big part of what makes my art unique is the way I see color is so different. It's so vibrant.
Right.
And that's how my brain processes things. But also, because of the partial hemispherectomy, there's a disconnect between the left side and the right side of my head. So there's like a disconnect there.
Physical disconnect, like
proper, yeah,
real.
So my brain has made all these other connections, but if I have to do something that involves symmetry, I have to like do the left side and then turn the canvas upside down to see how I'm supposed to do the right side. So when I did the Eiffel Tower, that's how I had to do it. And it's a big, I don't think I would have been as progressive in my artwork if it hadn't have been for the stroke.
Yeah.
Because
so I love that. I love that. That'd be a great time lapse to see you turn it upside down to try and work it out. And
I'll try and do that next time in one of my videos. That'd be cool.
I mean, that would be awesome, with a little bit of an explanation explaining why you're turning it upside down. That would be phenomenal. I mean, and that's what people need to know about you and other artists who have a different way to put paint on a canvas or to do it. They need to understand this is what makes that piece unique. It's not that I just slapped it on and I'm good at putting paint on a canvas. Like, it's a struggle, man. Like, I had to turn it upside down to work this stuff out, because I'm missing that part of my brain. I'm actually missing it. It's not there. And it doesn't do this, but it does this. And what a great way to describe to somebody neuroplasticity. Like, this is how you overcome stuff. You find new ways, and it's bizarre and it's weird, but it works. So who cares?
Absolutely. And I think, mainstream art, it's still very structured and it still wants you to be a certain way. Like, I've been called outsider artist because anything that, especially disabilities, it's seen as good for you rather than wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I get the whole, oh no, don't say anything when they say good for you, and I just smile. I go, yep, cool.
If I break your painting arm, who will that be good for? Will the art then become good for you or good for us? I mean, we would never do that, but I mean, sometimes I'm that brutal in a conversation when somebody says something that is stupid, but not from meaning harm. It's just from ignorance. It's, they don't know any better, and I get it. It's okay, but sometimes I love being that brutal and just saying, stuff like that. Like, if I break your arm, and then you had to paint with the other arm, like, would that be good for you or good for me? Like, who would that be good for?
I struggle with, I used to be very much like that, and I still struggle with it, because sometimes I'll say it and my friends will be like, you can't say that out loud, Noreen. That's not something that is suitable. I'm like, oh, it's fine, you know. And it could be as simple as I see someone on the street that is wearing something, I think, for God's sake, seriously, that doesn't suit you. And I don't realize how loud I'm saying it, and I'll say that. And so it's
We're the same as those people. I know.
absolutely,
And so it's all good. That's why we love them and we forgive them. It's no issue. It's just at the time, like, you just needed to be told. And I'm happy to be
yeah.
told when I'm wrong. So it's not that I don't think people should ever be wrong or say the wrong thing just out of ignorance, because I'm also ignorant from so many other things. I don't know everything.
Well, I mean, I think that's the good thing about the stroke community. We completely accept that there are things we are not good at and that we don't know everything. I think a lot of, like, probably from 20 to 30s think they know everything.
Yeah.
And it's the younger crowd that I got on very well with older artists. But my peer group, they just, they, I had one person actually avoid me in a show, and I was like desperate to talk to them, and I was like, oh, why? So I sent them a message on Instagram, said, I'm sorry we didn't get to talk, but here, I just wanted to say what you said was great on the panel and blah blah blah. So I thought, I'm not going to be ignored. You're not going to dodge me.
Yeah.
But I think also, no matter what career I went into, I was always going to have a struggle with people being not. I guess it's ignorant. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's ignorant, and it's not a bad word. I don't want people to think that
no,
ignorance is a bad word. It just literally means that you have no awareness of a particular situation. And sometimes you may not even have awareness that you don't have any awareness. So that's kind
yeah,
of what ignorance is. So it's not a bad thing. It's you don't know what you don't know. So I like that you kind of are a little bit cheeky in pushing the envelope with people who are uncomfortable, because you're doing it from a place of being being genuine, and more of just going, hey, I'm all right, you'll be all right when
yeah.
you talk to me, there's nothing gonna go wrong. So get a bit more comfortable with getting to know me, and maybe that means that you can have a conversation with somebody else as well who's like me.
I think that's right. It's kind of like trying to build acceptance within um a community that in general, I think society is it's getting there.
Yes.
We're working on it,
Yeah.
but you know, I've had, oh my goodness, I've had taxi drivers say, I will pray for you, and I'm like, no, mate, it's fine, it's good.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a place of good intent, but
No,
then you have to go, no,
cringy.
just, it's cringy, totally cringy.
Yeah.
And this, it's just weird. It's so weird. And I try, I think the only way I made friends over here is that Aussies are a lot more open and a lot less uh I don't know, in the UK it's we don't talk about it, and we don't talk about the issue at hand. Whereas the first party barbecue I went to with friends, they introduced me to the host, and he went, oh my god, did you break your leg? And I went, no, I'm a stroke survivor, man. And he went, cool, here, have a beer. I'm like, all right. it was it was the simplest way of just saying, all right, that was easy, excellent, let's move on.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I do appreciate that about Aussies, because
We are a curious
yeah,
bunch, so we tend to ask out of curiosity. And if you're going to have a visible physical issue, and you come
mm,
to Australia, expect to be asked. Expect somebody to say, "Hey, what happened to you?" Um,
mm,
and they're gonna just take it in their stride when you give them the answer. Like they don't really care that something happened to you. They just, it's a way to break the ice, and
yeah,
and that's kind of how I see it when I go somewhere, and people ask me, why don't you eat cake or gluten and that kind of stuff. It's because carbs and sugars they fry my brain instantly and I can't deal with it, right? So I don't need it. But if you ask me that question at dinner, I'm going to tell you the answer. And it's not going to be, I don't like it. It's going to be, I don't eat it because I had a stroke. And when I eat sugar and carbs, it messes with my brain. And you do whatever you want with it after that.
Absolutely.
You know, we can talk about it or we don't have to. But I'm not going to say just because I'm not wearing it. I'm not eating it just because. Like, I
I
think
think
people deserve to be given uh, more genuine responses when they're asking a question and they're not really thinking about what they're asking. I think that's how I kind of rock the boat. If you ask me a question, mate, you are going to get the answer.
that's kind of how I am. I'm like, well, if you ask the question, don't be shocked at the response and don't be upset if you don't like the response because you're the one that asked the question.
That's right. Yeah. 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 It's never gone bad for me, but I have got a few of those, uncomfortable
Mhm.
moments. And it's like, no, she'll be right, mate. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I've gotten those uncomfortable moments, and it's like, it's normally happened, like, years back when I used to go clubbing. It's happened in that scenario because people don't see, they just see your face and they see your shoulders. They don't look like at your arm or your leg or whatever. So for me, I remember a bouncer, he almost didn't let me in a club because he said, you've been drinking. And I went, no mate, I have a limp, I had a stroke. And he's like, oh yeah, move it along. I'm like, no, seriously. And I had to show him my leg support, and he almost wet himself. He was like, I said, so can I go in? He went, yep. I'm like, all right, have a nice night, mate. So it has been entertaining to see how people are, because
Yeah.
I think the more knowledge we have, though, it gets better. Like I love that book, the brain that
Changeable.
heals itself,
It changes itself.
changes itself.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dr. Norman Deutsch, and his other one, the I forget now. I forget the other one, but the brain that changes itself. Yeah,
As-
it's a brilliant book, and Norman Deutsch is one of those guys who has done a lot of work in the field of neuroplasticity, and he's spoken all over the world, in Australia, everywhere, and he's just amazing. Um, and it's great that technology, that knowledge of neuroplasticity has only really been around, properly accepted, probably since the early 2000s. So it's in its infancy, and it's the first thing that you hear about. When I was in hospital in 2012, like, that's the first thing the doctors told me about. They said to me, oh, well, the nurses, not the doctors, they said to me, do you know about this thing called neuroplasticity? And of course, I had already done that research and learnt about it. But I also interviewed Michael Merzenich, who was one of the founding, they call him like the godfather of neuroplasticity, who discovered neuroplasticity was happening when they invented the world's first cochlear implant, because they invented this technology to attach to people's heads to restore hearing in people who have never heard before. And he said it was just a machine, and that machine is pretty much useless unless the brain adapts to hearing from that machine rather than from this ear. And that's kind of when the light bulb moment happened, and they went, oh my God, like, the brain is changing. And prior to that, there wasn't enough evidence. And the thinking was that the brain, once you have it, once it's done, it doesn't change. So Norman Deutsch, like, looks at Michael Merzenich as this godlike kind of person. And in the book, The Brain That Changes Itself, he talks about him for the majority of the book. And it's like he's got a bigger man crush on him than I do. So yeah, it's a great book. Anyone who's interested in learning about neuroplasticity and getting to the bottom of it, what he does is he shares stories of people who achieved something amazing that they technically weren't supposed to achieve after they had a neurological injury or some kind of condition. And it's like, I think about 7 or 8 stories that have become chapters, and he talks about them and how those people have overcome great adversity because their brain changed, and because doctors have stopped thinking about the brain as being this solid thing that once it's done, it's done.
Absolutely, and I think you know, the more, as you said, the more people understand, the better everyone else is for it. Still remember what I don't personally remember. My parents remember being told that, you know, your daughter's never going to walk or talk again. Get a house without any stairs so she doesn't have to do it. And my mom and dad got a house with stairs, and even if it was like, we're going to do 5 steps a day, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament to the fact that back then they really didn't, as you said, it's only been in the early 2000s that people have actually discovered the neuroplasticity kind of, and that the brain is forever changing. Like, I get really excited at the fact that you and I, in 5 years from now, could be able to do so much. Even just a year from now, we'd be like, oh, did you know I couldn't jet ski before, but now I can?
Exactly.
You know, it's just amazing. And I think anyone who's out there that is at the beginning of their story, I would say just never ever obviously listen to your doctors, but never take everything as this concrete situation, because I think doctors are used to dealing with people that don't recover as well as you and I, and they can understand. They still don't understand that we're doing well, we're thriving.
You nailed it, because they don't catch up with us 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the track. They only catch up with us if we're unwell. And while we are not unwell and not going back to them, they don't have that relationship with us. So they get to see us when we're unwell, but they don't get to see us when we're well. That's
Yeah, exactly. I was in hospital last year for pain, and I was on like a ketamine infusion, and this stuff makes you so loopy and strange and almost in a state of not attached to your body at all. So it's kind of dissociative kind of feeling. And you have all these people talking to you. And I said to my OT, could you slow down? Like, you're just talking way too fast. And he wasn't. But because my brain was taking in the medication. So I find it difficult because I always justify to OTs and physios, oh, it's not fair because you only see me when I'm really struggling, and I've been able to do so much before this. And they normally say to me, oh, that's great, Noreen. And they're looking, going, no,
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I know. Maybe it's because you don't appear trustworthy or something. Well, you're on drugs, like you probably weren't trustworthy, you know.
That's true. When you're on those drugs, they you get checks. It's like being in prison. You get checks every couple of hours.
Hey, Noreen, I've really appreciated getting to know you and chatting to you. Thank you
Me
so
too.
much for being on the podcast. I'm so glad Joe connected us, and I'm going to let him know that the first 10 minutes of this episode was really pretty much, it was a Joe Borges love fest, really, is what it was.
Oh, it was. It was. I mean, we're crushing on him hard. No, this was really great, and I'm so glad he connected me with you, and to understand your story as well, and just what you do. You're connecting a lot of people with others and helping them through it all, and we can definitely all be grateful for that.
Ah, It's my pleasure. I really enjoy it because so far I've got to meet about 120 people that are like me, and that was
Wow.
I never knew that many people could possibly be like me.
As it's as we're going through life, we're meeting more and more because the internet's connecting us through.
Yeah.
I think that's the wonderful thing about it. It's connected us all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we connected. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Discover how to heal your brain after stroke. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com. Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.